The U.S. has begun deriding Ukrainians as casualty averse, which that's weird. It's covering the image in a weird way now. Anyway, the U.S. has begun deriding wimpy Ukrainians, as the title, who have become casualty adverse. So we helped create this proxy war. It's done mainly for U.S. benefit, even though much of it is backfired, and U.S. and NATO benefit. And the Ukrainians are the ones dying. They're the ones with their lives destroyed. They're the ones fleeing. They're the ones that their entire lives are changed irrevocably because of our proxy war there. And we have the nerve to basically say, no, just stay out on that battlefield and just you go see how it goes. We're fine. We're fine with you continuing to fight a losing battle. And if it's cool for us, I feel like it should be cool for you, right? Just go and just keep doing that. Just keep doing it. Dismayed that Ukraine is squandering U.S. weapons by hurling them at Russian forces. Obviously, some of this article is sarcastic, but I enjoy the sarcasm. Squandering U.S. weapons by hurling them at Russian forces instead of hurling themselves at the well-fortified invaders. Armchair U.S. military are now calling Ukrainians, and this is a direct quote, casualty adverse. A nice way of calling them cowards. U.S.-Ukraine war games ahead of the June counteroffensive envisioned Ukraine taking large casualties in order to reclaim Donbass so they could start brutalizing Donbass Ukrainians again. And, of course, that's referencing the 15,000 culturally Russians that were murdered in Donbass before the invasion, 2022 invasion even began. But the U.S. wanted this counteroffensive to be just, Ukraine will just throw all their people at it. They've already lost. It's hundreds of thousands. I don't know. I've heard the numbers 400, 500,000 thrown around in terms of number of Ukrainians dead. The more accurate number I think that I've heard of Russian troops dead is 40 or 50,000. So way more, like 10 times as many Ukrainians are dying in this than Russians. And yet the U.S. is like, no, just keep doing that. Just keep at it. Really. Honestly, the U.S. is basically standing back behind the trenches, behind the bulletproof glass, behind everything, and just sitting there giving the thumbs up. Yeah, no, just go. Just keep going. You're doing great. Just keep it up. Keep dying. It reminds me of, there's apparently a quote from Stonewall Jackson, the great Civil War general who was a evangelical and racist nutbag. Stonewall Jackson. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. Until recently, they had a very grand statue of good old Stonewall Jackson. Stonewall, called Stonewall for how upright he would sit on his horse even as bullets are flying by, because he thought God was going to save him. God did not save him. However, he asked in one of these battles where everyone's dying and the number is dead in the Civil War is just horrific, just crazy. There were battlefields where literally you couldn't walk without stepping on dead people. But Stonewall Jackson asked where the mail carrier was, because he had like a letter or something, and the guy said, "Oh, he was shot and killed." And Stonewall Jackson, now I don't know whether this is true or just bullshit passed down over the years, but Stonewall Jackson's response was, "Good man." He was shot and murdered. What a good man. And that's basically how the U.S. is reacting to this fucking lunacy of Ukrainians dying at these numbers while Russia just wears them down in a result that we all know is coming, rather than the U.S. saying we will support a peace deal, which is basically what has to happen. Yes, there's Zelensky running around saying he's going to fight till we take back all of Ukraine, but whatever. He doesn't really matter. He'll do whatever the U.S. tells him to do. And the U.S. has to say they'd endorse a peace deal. And in fact, the U.S. was the one that ended the peace deal talks when this first broke out. But we're basically standing there behind the bulletproof glass, behind the trenches, behind the walls, behind all of the ramparts. And as just crazy numbers of Ukrainians are dying, we're sitting there going, good men, good on you. Way to go. To all the dead men and women out there, we here in the United States would like to say, well done. It's horrific and horrifying. And now the latest U.S. statements is that the problem, because we got to shift the blame, right? The U.S. can't claim we lost this. So we're shifting the blame to Ukrainians and saying, you guys are casualty adverse. You don't want to go die enough. You're not wanting to die enough. Can you work on trying to die a little more? Because you're not doing it enough of the dying. Could you just try harder to die? Because really, that might make a difference here.